signals and symptoms. I'm glad that you are here with us, and we have our expert, Harvey Castro. Today's theme is going to be very exciting. One of the things I wanted to do in this episode is an experiment in which we're going to go through the updates a little more carefully because what we're looking at is a tsunami of new updates and data that is coming, and we need to ensure that what is going to be applicable and what is not going to be actually just hype, and that is one of the core features of our process over here. So let me just start with a few updates that are more technical, and then we're going to go ahead and ask Harvey's of his opinion what he thinks about this. So first and foremost, this is amazing, which is called analog in-memory computing attention mechanism for fast and energy efficient large systems. And this is a completely different way of managing memory on a chip. Normally, what we call is digital memory, and that digital memory is actually 0 and 1. But when you switch over to analog memory, it is really closer to what we call quantum compute, and it has a series of from between 0 to 1. And as a matter of fact, that this way of chip design is, in my opinion, going to completely revolutionize. And then their claim is, and again, these are all hardware, these are all simulated results, and there's no real chip that goes through this. What they are using is a giant cell array, and these giant cell array actually keeps portions of the large language model in the memory forever. And the idea is that this would be basically a complete inference chip. And if this actually does go through, they will be 1,000 times powerful for inference than NVIDIA chips and 10,000 less in terms of energy consumption. And that is where the big issue is. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. I was actually looking at solar a little more carefully because the concern is that the electric bills are going to go high. I don't know, Harvey, what is your opinion in terms of energy consumption? Are you also looking at putting some solar at your house, or what's going on?
Well, I already have solar in my house, and unfortunately, my HOA only let me do about 50%, so I couldn't do any more. But my electric bill is by 50% less, and with the AI and all that, knowing that this exists would be huge. I know this is on paper, but I definitely you need to send me this article because I have some ideas for outer space to use this, so this would be really good.
Oh, absolutely. And this is from a German company, and this is insane that how much is going to change the cost curve is concerned. Another technical paper that actually I want to talk about is MEDLE, a logic-driven multi-agent framework for complex reasoning with large language models. Now, one of the ways that we are looking at is that we are actually changing the way that static rules are defined in an agentic framework. And that's what we call, for example, a meta agent. You have one agent called radiologist, the other is pathologist, and then they point out the mistake and go from there. What actually they do is basically that they actually cross over. So they have a logic tree based agent discussion. So if there's within the discussion, the agent is pushed into if it requires a radiologist versus a pathologist. And this logic tree based system in which you can switch between agents on the fly is a very amazing way of looking at things and manipulating agents, because we have crossed the chasm of radiologists and pathologists talking about at some point this. But once you actually come to what we call multi-agentic flows, you're going to see that this is going to become extremely powerful as we go along. I was quite impressed by this strategy. I'll be trying this within our systems as well to see how it improves results as far as this technique is concerned. Uh, there's another benchmark that came out of New England Journal of Medicine, and they actually came out and stating like assessment of large and clinical reasoning, and they actually went up and produced a whole reasoning system in which diagnosis of SCT, investigations, etc. And these benchmarks are so important for real world benchmarks are created for us to truly compare different models with each other. But more importantly, when we are developing some of these models, we know what to look for in terms of testing as well. Because we do internal testing, but external benchmarks are really nice. And again, this is publicly available at this website. So awesome to see what's going on in this arena. Uh, Another interesting agentic workflows that we're looking at. Again, most of the new research is following the RAD agents in which radiologist workflows are converted into exactly. So there is always an orchestrator, plan, context, execute. The PCE is basically one of the most ways people actually go ahead and execute this. And then there's a synthesizer. So orchestrator, active subagents, and then synthesizer. And this is again the ABCDE approach of things going forward. I think what we're going to see is more and more of this, and more and more of things are going to go agentic. I'm going to be very honest with you. In 90% of the cases, you do not need to use agents or agentic workflow. You need to use agents, but you don't need agentic workflow. But again, the idea is that more and more people, because it just adds cost and energy, it doesn't really bring in a lot more information. Again, from a fundraising perspective, we saw that document chasing is still one of the biggest issues, and our startups are actually moving and getting more raises because of this documentation issue. Uh, this is actually we discussed last time, but I just wanted Harvey's opinion on it. So this is an interesting article. Your clinical notes can save lives with AI, and this is so cool that they actually did. Actually, I did not see that coming. An NLP system can flag a patient whose last three paragraphs notes mentioned took longer to answer questions, needed repeated prompting guide session today, reluctant to show pills, and more coughing with you. These are all indicators of basically dementia, early dementia. And I want to know what do you think, Harvey? That was so insane, right? Like I would have not connected that dots. However, I'm actually in neurology and everything, and I can see that if you go back, these nodes can actually tell us what we call early diagnosis and detection, and that is going to be insane. And we should be using these AI scribes all the time. It feels like it.
Yeah, I'll add to the my favorite phrase. I say it all the time. We don't know what we don't know, right? But now with AI, kind of pointing out things, finding patterns that we didn't find. This week, I was with a neurologist. He's creating his own LLM. How our brain works, pretty interesting. And one of the things he said, anecdotally, is when I see a patient and I ask him a question, and I see my patient turn his head and look at his wife, and then look at me. That's a sign of early dementia to me. And I thought, huh, interesting. And so then I told him, hey,
Yep.
why don't we consider getting permission, putting cameras in the room so that way we can start recognizing that multimodality, not just what's written, but what's being
Right.
seen, because that's what the human saw, but what else can the AI pick up? So pretty fascinating.
Absolutely, and it's just great that we are actually now using it because all the biggest problem with Alzheimer's is that early detection. Because we can do intervention, but if the brain is already fried, like dementia, nothing's gonna change at that point in time. I mean, someday, hopefully, but what I'm saying is that early detection becomes so extremely important. So that's one more thing that we wanted to add again. I already spoke about this. Now, this is coming out of Microsoft. Now, Microsoft is actually really killing it in terms of basically making sure that the LLMs behave actually properly. There's a whole thing called POML, programmatic orchestration of agentic LLMs. And this one is the second one in which they're teaching LLMs to plan properly. And this is a logical chain of thought instruction system, nothing else. It's just essentially a symbolic planning system in which they are able to plan better. So this literally is essentially a Python scripts that make sure that a pre-trained LLM basically makes sure that the fine-tuned LLM behaves appropriately. And this actually, if you look at the results, it was insane. I think with a small model, I think they use it on GPT-3 or something. 66% absolute improvement over baseline. Insane. Just by making things clear, logical, stepwise for the LLMs and those who do workflows, right? I mean, I'm a neuro ICU physician. Harvey Castro is an ED physician. We guys know how much important it is to actually create these processes for improvement. I was surprised that just by this, and I wasn't like too surprised. I mean, there's a whole industry behind management consulting, and I think these kind of things are going to kill the management consulting firms. What do you think, Harvey?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm just thinking of that through. I mean, I used to own emergency rooms in hospitals, and having this kind of workflow. I mean, something so simple as how many doctors should I have on at what time and what day, and how many nurses, and then being able to use these kind of algorithms and the chain of thought, or it's a game changer.
It is, and then I'm definitely using this for sure. I mean, it's just essentially a way to orchestrate things. Nothing. So I mean, I'm truly amazed by this. Uh, there's another new model called A World. This is the first trillion parameters model that is completely open source. It was released last week. I haven't tested it, but it is saying that it works better with multi-agent system, intelligence beyond a single model, and cloud native. And the idea is that they are actually really going through this agentic and reasoning and multi-agent systems, and would love to see these open source models come through. Claude introduced 4.5, sorry, Sonnet 4.5. So they have Opus and Sonnet. Opus is their largest frontier model that is higher thinking, but the lower model, the Sonnet, actually they gave him essentially wings to fly. And the Sonnet 4.5 is gonna be basically made for software engineering, and they're actually going through this. Again, I'm gonna repeat this, that what the process, the larger big companies process has been, that you got to that anytime you can have what we call on demand software creation. So rather than solving a problem, you create a software that solves the problem. So everyone's basically deciding that we need to completely take over the software. So the large language models can create the software that solves the problem. And this is exactly where the reasoning agentic systems comes in. And that's where the whole industry is moving to understand how AI is going to solve problems in the future. Really excited about it. We don't use Claude that much from our software development, but I'm going to put that to the test at the moment and then go see it. They actually released that Claude, browser control, which is going to be faster as well. And they're looking at even comparing with their own Opus model that agentic coding is better with Claude Sonnet, which is again, coding is where they're after. And then the last GLM actually got 4.6 upgrade. Again, it is a free model, advanced agentic region and coding capabilities. As I said, that's the new thing that people are moving, which is another thing that's called browser compatibility. Now you're going to completely take away the browser systems as well. Perplexity led the way. Actually, I don't know. Harvey uses Comet, and then we'll go from there. So, Harvey, thoughts on these new updates?
Yeah, the more and more this advances, the more fun. It's all about human plus AI, right? How do you use these tools? The tools are there, but how do you, the human, how do you interact with them? How do you take it to the next level? And that's why I love this space. It's learning the tools and kind of graduating. The more you know, the more you start doing kind of advanced things. I do want to mention, I want to say hello from Morocco. I'm in Marrakesh today. I've been there the whole week. It is amazing here. I just did a hot air balloon ride, and just inspirational just
Oh,
to be able to see it from here. I heard this is the one or two top places in balloon um, flying around the world. So it is amazing.
let me show how I can share the pictures. I know I got one. Let me figure this out if I can show it
Well,
securely.
well, well, you pull it up. I'll say
Yeah, go
back to
ahead.
LLMs, big picture. I gave a talk here in Marrakesh, and the big picture here is all of these tools are here, and I can't over stress. It's really here, and how can you use them, and how can us being physicians, how can we use that for humanity? How can we improve our patient care? How can we catch things that may have happened, may have hurt our patients, but now with LLMs we can catch them early. One of my biggest themes that I always talk about, it's human plus AI, but the next one is let's forget about reactive medicine and let's create proactive medicine so that your watch, your browsers, everything is telling you, hey, it's time for you to get checked, or hey, you need to sleep some more, or we're seeing some early signs of XYZ. So anyway, fascinating. So thanks for sharing the picture. That was this morning.
Oh, so beautiful. Look at the actual landscape and over here, and then this, and then of course, you're with friends on the hot air balloon right here.
Yeah,
Amazing. I mean, the landscape is superb. Yeah, I agree with
it's
you. And then
amazing.
look at the sun. What time was it when you were on the air?
This was around 6:30 in the morning. Sunrise wasn't until like 7:15, so we caught it on the way up. It was beautiful. Yeah. There was a group of us that we all said, okay, who of the conference wants to go? So we signed up and we all went.
Oh,
So
actually,
it was
since
fun.
I'm sharing this, where is this?
This is in Singapore. Right before coming, I was at the National Institute of, I'm sorry, the National University Health System of Singapore. And I use, what did I use? Gemini Banana to add the amazing robot next to me.
Amazing. So cool. Thanks for sharing these. I really appreciate it. Let me go back to now the today's topic I wanted to talk about first before we get into this, and I want you to take the sort of lead on this because I know you love this, and I love to, by the way. But given that I am so hooked with my keyboard, given like my sort of, I work now as a coder. But anyways, now this is your game. Get see more without ever looking away. And I know you have your glasses. And I did you see the announcement and everything? What are your thoughts
Oh,
on
yeah.
this? What do you
Oh,
think?
yeah.
How it is going to improve human in? That's exactly what we talk about. Human loop, human in loop. So
Yeah,
let
let's talk
me
about
go
it.
ahead. Go
So
ahead.
let me start off with my poor son. I sent him to give me a pair of glasses because I'm out of the country. And he said, "Hey, Dad, there's a long list. There's about a 3 to 4 week waiting list. So now I'm waiting. And then they have to be fitted. And so, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'll be getting them here in about a month. But how do I see this in healthcare? No pun intended. Imagine these protocols. Imagine a guideline that just pushed out by the hospital, and I'm having to see my patient and I don't know my guidelines. But if I'm able to attach these to the glasses and now be able to see them on the screen, how nice would that be? One of the things I'm personally working on is trying to get the APIs for this so that, or access to this so that I can catch emotional intelligence. So if my patient needs X, Y, and Z, it's catching their emotional intelligence. I'm processing it here and I'm able to give better care, or maybe I'm autistic, or maybe I'm having trouble with emotional intelligence, having that interaction. So that's just one quick example of how this could really change the future. As an ER doctor, I know the battery life is not the best, but if I'm able to have this and in real time, I need your data, I need your labs, I need your x rays, and I can just pull it up right there. I mean, that's life saving. When seconds count, be able to jump in and be like, oh, this lab just came in and I need to act. I was literally in Denmark a couple of weeks ago speaking at the World Federal International Pharmacy. And then one of the biggest things I talked about is having this information in real time, connecting it to my pharmacist so that when that overdose comes in with Tylenol and I need that antidote, even real time, this information is going to the pharmacist and boom, through AI, he's already working on the antidote and sending it to me before I even ordered it.
No, I mean for so we have an AI scribe, of course, and it's world class. But the word that you said was two things. Number one, capture of accuracy right then and there. So if the person shows me a wound or tremors or something, I can just click a button, and rather than just capturing the audio, I can just capture this video and the actual picture within the note itself, which is again. Picture is worth 1,000 words, and then if the video is essentially a series of pictures, so you can say 1,000,000 words right then and there. So that was something, a use case that I thought, man, that would be interesting because if a Parkinson's patient comes in, it is very hard, that they're going to come back in 3 months. I'm going to change, adjust the medication today. Is it really actually helping? And if I have video proof, I can just go. And then think about it that if I want to put a DBS, deep brain stimulator, I have a whole series that this medication he tried, he failed, and therefore he needs a deep brain stimulator. Again, very powerful in terms of capturing both, as you said, just pure. It's not magic anymore, like a picture and a video, but that's on your face. It's available, and as you suggested, that right then and there, when I'm talking to the patient, I mean, I want to make sure that they're taking, the medication, which is, I don't know, Parkinson's medication is 4 times a day. It has to be specific timing. You don't want to take it before you sleep because you don't want, you don't tremor inside sleep. So if you're taking a nap, you have to adjust your medications, and those kind of capturing is actually very difficult. It's not like regular medicine AM and PM, and that actually also improves the capture because right then and there you have it on your face and it's recording and then going through. So long story short, that is something that is fantastic, that is going to add availability, and as you said, right information at the right time. That is the main job of AI, which is half the time, like 80% of the time we are still hunting for medications and information. So I'm gonna be really impressed when these comes out, and hopefully we'll get a hands on it. We should reach out to Meta to give us early access to APIs so that we can actually build things on it. So let's just put that in the system, and then we're gonna go ahead and then go from there. Now, today's topic, the main topic I wanted to discuss was radiology. So before I go to the other topic, which we talked about agentic AI and how this is going to change the way systems are moving, and we talked about last time essentially. So let me just first start with this. This is the main topic. The algorithmic consultant, a new era of clinical AI calls for a new workforce of physician algorithmic specialists. And then the main topic is human AI and everything. And then that's why we're talking about this. But before we get into this, I want to share a study with Harvey and get his thoughts that radiologists' last exam, benchmarking frontier multiple AI models and the taxonomy of visual reasoning errors in radiology. And they actually basically created the toughest exam on purpose. That, hey, what are you going to do? And this is how they were actually scored. So radiology's last exam, Claude Opus is actually insanely low, which is really odd. Then comes Grok 4, OpenAI O3, then Gemini 2.5 Pro, GPT-5 Thinking, and then this is radiology training trainees, and then finally we have board certified radiologist. And this is essentially, again, by design, a hard sort of pass. But this is really where they've not the radiologists even did 100%. So most radiologists got to 80% accuracy on this test, and this is really interesting. So we have been thinking about it that especially in radiology, AI is catching up with a very small niche, and then are we taking this and going into the future, which is physician algorithm specialists? Let's just have a conversation on what do you think about the exam, and what do you think about how things are going to move in the future?
Yeah, I think the more and more we train these models, for example, in radiology, and we improve them. As you can see, that scale is not as quite as high as it should be. But if we took those radiologists and trained these models, reinforced the model, and created it's going to be scary good how important it is. And then just to tie it all together, say we did have those chips that you started the podcast with, and say you put them. There at the hospital system, man, in theory, it could be as powerful enough to literally fit on your phone and some. So that's kind of scary how strong it could be.
So let me break it down. First of all, is it ethical to produce a test that is in that is designed to fail LLMs? And then, of course, do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm saying that, of course, we
Yeah.
have like seen multiple things that for breast mass detection, that's what we're doing, chest X-ray, TB detection, brain bleed detection. I mean, our models are at 98% accuracy, and I keep saying that. Everyone asks me like, "Well, you can detect a bleed in the brain." No, I mean, I have six code strokes going at the same time. There's a human cognitive capacity, and what if I had I say that I'm actually under the weather right now. No matter what I do, how much Tylenol I take, there's a human lapse that exists. Third, I keep saying, people say, oh, there's human intuition, and people say that nobody can replace doctor's eyes, and I keep telling them that my eyes is only sees the visible spectrum. They do not see the pre and the post, which is literally what the AI does. It does pixel by pixel identification and then brings in the picture and then goes from there. So number one, is it ethical to develop these kind of tests to fool people? Which is important in my opinion. Again, we need to distinguish hype from this, because another thing is that what a radiologist does is so underrated. So thoughts on those two comments?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of I hate when scientists can skew a study a certain way, and you can manipulate what you're saying, and um, it'll be quite interesting. I think this. I do want to mention this real quick. There's this thing called Martech's law, and the skinny is this technology that we're talking about. All of it, AI is exponential, and our culture, our organizations are logarithmic, and as a result, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. What does that mean? This technology is getting way far ahead to the point where our legislators can't keep up, the FDA can't keep up, and our organizations are just kind of almost think as a straight line, and when these gaps get bigger and bigger, what's going to happen is disruption, and we're going to start hearing stories of individuals taking these LLMs to another level, and no regulation, and it's just going to be crazy because again this gap, and it's not because it's our society can't keep up.
So I do practice acute care, which is very different than outpatient care. But even in that, I've seen people who are literally asking live in front of me. Hey, I'm seeing a patient like a grandmother or a grandfather having a stroke and talking to them, while the granddaughter is literally on Chat GPT asking questions and then confirming what I'm doing and then asking me right then and there. So these things are, so that was a challenge, that the difference between Dr. Google and this, because they actually produce a summary that is fairly usable to argue with me. But the idea is that it is actually getting a little insane, and then I really think regulation needs to catch up, and the hospitals need to regulate the use of this, because it is going to get insane. So coming to the second point, so let me so where do I see a radiologist? And that's something that is very important. In the practice, normally think that they read freaking reports and then send out. Of course, that's the bread and butter. Nobody's arguing with that, and I don't think so. We use radiologists appropriately. I'm an epileptologist, right? Too. So what we do is I bring in EEG, I bring in the neurologist, I bring in, but he brings in the MRI, the CAT scan, the PET CT, and everything together, and then we discussed. I say, okay, this is where the the electrical faults are. He's going to say it correlates with the electro EEG findings. This is where the spot is. Then we present that to the neurosurgeon and then tell him to take it out. So that whole process is, come on, man, this that cannot be replaced by AI in the next 10 years or so, at least. So what I'm saying is that people forget what radiologist brings to the table, and that's where the years of experience comes in, because he's going to tell me, I'm going to tell him, okay, this left MCA, this over here is a language center. No matter what you do, you do not touch it. Or he's going to say, this vessel is going through, because if the veins are right here, arteries right here, there's no good surgical approach. And that's how you sit and discuss on one patient for hours, and then figure out what is the best way to do surgical resection. Now, this kind of thing, even how to know, Harvey, how to even do an experiment on it. Do you understand?
Mm.
This level of complexity when it comes in. But that's where the agentic AI comes in. There's one agent called Junaid, which is an optometrist. There's another agent that is a radiologist. There's another agent. And then there are sub agents who are looking at CT, sub agent looking at MRI, sub agent looking at this. So it is a little scary and exciting at the same time.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yes, it definitely is. Thank you. Yeah, I do call this our year of the agentic, and in my mind, I keep thinking this can't be the final. There's just we haven't. I don't think we've invented the next GPT equivalent. I think it's going to be a whole different algorithm and model that will come forth. So it's just crazy to me. Every time I think we've kind of started plateauing, I feel like we're exponential again.
You say, yeah. I mean, with this Claude Sonnet 4.5, the SWE benchmarks are very small, because this is a logarithmic scale. So the way that they are improving even a little bit, 2 to 4%, it is insane, the real world implications of it. So let's go back to just one more thing. And over here, I wanted to talk about that this particular study, in which the algorithmic consultant, and then when do you think that this is going to be a reality, where a physician algorithm specialist is going to come in, and how do you
Mm.
visualize it? I have my own things. I don't want to, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to
So
bias me.
yes, so yeah, what would Harvey plus Harvey AI look like?
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting to me, you and I, not to sound pompous, we're in a different level right now. We understand the space. We don't need a consultant for us. We understand these models. We know which models to use and how, and we're our own interpreter in a way. And to this, when I read this, I kept thinking, ideally, we should, our goal as a physician now should be able to do both, not needing someone else. Ideally, you know. I know when your question was, when will this happen? That's a tough one. I really think there's already certain hospitals like NYU, not NYU specifically, but NYU Tron and certain big hospital systems already have their own LLM that they're training. And to me, there's this future physicians being trained there, and they already have the model ish, and they know how to use it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and they are those physicians that are one, meaning they're the interpreter, they know the algorithm, they know the medicine, and they don't need that quote unquote interpreter. For the rest of the world, there's that bell curve. Um, uh, Junaid and I are early adopters. Like we already showed the Apple, and we want to use these Meta glasses, and we're like pushing. But for the rest of the world, it's not in that bell curve. I think that this article is perfect for them.
No, so the way the future I look at it is, first of all, interesting insight, and that's very important. That I keep saying I learn a lot with doing this, and the way to learn things is doing it actively, and then not be shy, because you can, I can be wrong, and that's why, or Harvey is saying, oh, you've seen him as an ed too. So the way I look at it is like you did it actually. You took all your books and TED Talks, etc., and put it into essentially a knowledge base, vectorized it, and then half of the time you're also asking because you're so productive. You don't even remember how many books, you've written 5 books or something. So the idea is that you actually have a trained Harvey AI with your bedside that actually, with your talks and everything. I think that's sort of the vision will be that I will have a neurovascular frontier model for, let's say, my stroke work, and neuro uh, epileptologist frontier model. And then on top of that, it will have all my preferences. It will have all of my things built into that. Like, for example, how Junaid likes it, what medication he likes, what is the group, etc. It is. And then while somebody calls me for a consult, my AI is going to go in, dig deep into the chart and everything, pre-plan my visit, also add some of these, of non starters. For example, did you get a routine EEG? Did you get an MRI brain with and without contrast in the last 3 months? Because all this data is needed for me to actually come and to be a productive consultant for you. So doing all of these, investigations beforehand, and then I come in and then talk to the patient and spend actual time with the goddamn patient rather than reviewing the stupid chart and making summaries and dictating all that crap, and then understand their all the situation, including the diagnosis, the detection, the social situation, how the medication. Because I can say, you know what, you should have this medication, Vimpat, great, amazing medication, but they cannot afford it. Who cares? Right? Do you understand? So the way I vision this in the future is that Junaid, Harvey and Harvey AI is gonna come. When you consult Harvey, the AI goes do the pre-work for you, and then you sit, make sure that it is a companion to you, and then does the post work like documentation and everything. And this is going to be interesting. I really think that that is the future. I think that's where really what we want to people to understand, that it's here to augment, not replace. It's here to actually excite. So um, Harvey is gonna close with 2 new guests coming in the next couple of weeks. He's gonna tell us who they are. He's gonna tell us what happened in Morocco, and then we're gonna reach out to Meta and all of these companies as well, so that they can bring these new technologies directly to you. So stay tuned with us, Harvey. The ball is in your court. Go ahead and give us some
Yeah.
updates and close.
Yeah, so from the Middle East has been interesting. They're really pushing digital twins out here. I was very impressed. The UAE is looking at creating digital twins, and for just to break it down, is imagine from birth, if I have all your medical records all the way till now, but then I convert it into a digital, and so now if I need to give you medicine, if I had to treat you, I have literally your digital twin. And then I'm giving that digital twin medication, seeing which one does worse, which one doesn't. And then when I finally have that answer, then I come to you and say, okay, this is the drug, this is the dose, and here it is. And so they're doing that. Now, as far as guests, we'll split it. I'll introduce Dr. Anthony Chang. He's a dear friend of mine. We've been working together on several companies that we are doing some projects on, and I'm faculty for him as well. And he's a good friend. And big picture, I think of him as like the godfather of AI healthcare. And he's a great gentleman. You will enjoy him a lot. And God willing, we'll have him here next year.
Yes, AI Med 2025 is happening in San Diego, November. Sorry, you cut off a little bit. So, Anthony Cheng is truly one of the godfathers from a clinician. Actually, I put him all the way up to Eric Topol. Those two people have inspired me personally as a physician to take up this important role of becoming an AI expert. And we're going to have another amazing expert coming in soon, Dr. Kenya, and then we're going to add super micro clay. Clay is coming, so we're bringing in some more of these experts. We're going to figure out industry experts as well. We're going to bring in connectivity, teleco experts as well. And the idea behind is that we're going to take away all of the small pieces of what builds AI, because AI is a true transformation. We keep talking about AI transformation. Whereas the way we move from paper charts to digital charts, which we call the digital transformation, and then we're going to go through the AI transformation together with people like Harvey and Ed Marks. Again, extremely grateful that you guys joined. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.